4, December 26, when tsunami struck.
That your work brought a difference to your community?
I can see often you becoming emotional when it comes to your work. Any news item, some coverage you made, after that you were so scared for backlash.
When Ms. Jayalalitha was the chief minister.
So today we have with us an award-winning journalist. It is none other than Sam Daniel, bureau head, reporting from Chennai or Tamil Nadu. Welcome, sir. In 2004, December 26, when tsunami struck, you are the first journalist to reach Ground Zero Nagapattinam and started reporting. How you could reach so fast and what was the situation there? Because we all saw just in television, and how was the feel there?
Okay, I was the first among national media. Of course, there would have been local journalists who were there in Nagapattinam. It's a very heart-rending story. I was on my Christmas vacation. This happened on the 26th. So I was at my hometown Salem with my parents. It was a Sunday. We got back from church. When we turned on the Tamil channels, everybody was talking about Peralai. There was not even a name of tsunami at that time. And I called my editor, Jennifer, at that time. She was so nice. Sam, you're on vacation, keep the phone. She slammed the phone. Then the numbers went up, 200 dead, 300 dead. Third time when I called her, she said, okay, you go to Nagapattinam. That's how it began. So I am in Salem. My camera person is in Madura because I was based in Madura at that time. So I called him, you take a car and come to Madurai. And I was hiring a cab in Salem to go to Nagapattinam. By then the numbers were steadily increasing. There was no smartphone at that time. I had my 5110 Nokia phone, the sturdy Nokia phone at that time. There was no WhatsApp, no internet on the phone, everything. I used to have a small transistor, my old culture of listening to news on the move, you know. And so I was regularly in touch with I think the IG of Trichy zone, Mr. George. He was the IG at that time. And I didn't know him at all. But he was so nice. Every half an hour, because we used to have half an hour bulletins then. It was Star News at that time. NDTV was doing stories for the entire production for Star News. Half an hour of English bulletin, half an hour of Hindi bulletin. So every half an hour I used to call him. The numbers used to gradually rise. By the time I reached there, it became, I think, 900, 1,000 like that. So I was able to continuously report on what I was seeing and what I'm hearing on the phone and what is being done. By the time I reached, there was no OB van at that time because OB van was in Chennai at that time. Nagapattinam was emerging as the epicenter slowly. So when I reached, by then my camera person Chandran had reached Nagapattinam. He had covered all the footage, hundreds of bodies being taken, trucks being loaded with bodies, people being rushed to hospitals, the devastation of the town, everything. And we didn't have a system to immediately upload that because the van was in Madura, Chennai. And at that time, Reliance used to have big broadband centers in many of the towns. The nearest one for us was in Kumbakonam. So I reached by around 7 o'clock or something in Nagapattinam, collected all the information, visited the hospitals, everything, and then came to a landmark location, did my recording, talking about everything. My hope was, as I speak, it became dark by then. As I speak, my office will be able to use the visuals my colleague has filmed in another window. So we sent it. I think at that night, 11 o'clock bulletin carried the entire, my reportage and then the visuals, everything. Then the next morning, Barka Dutt, who was the editor at that time, she immediately flew from Nagapattinam, from Delhi. And we used to have a flyway dish antenna. which could be carried on a jeep, on a small vehicle, and we can open it up. We can go live from there. So from next morning, we were able, because even if an OB van comes, we can carry to all the streets inside which have no road at all, This was very helpful for that. So we went live from the next morning. It was heart-rending scene. Even 24 hours later, when we walked into those areas, the area which we first covered was Akkarepete in Nagapattinam, the worst affected. Hundreds of bodies, children, mothers crying. And the scene you saw in every street, in every house, the clocks stopped exactly at that time the tsunami struck. Bodies lying there, bloated bodies. Heart-rending. But when we reported, immediately police forces came to, because even for the police or for officials, they were clueless what is happening, what is there, But when media reported, we were able to see that 20-30 minutes later, police teams coming and ordering rescue, clearing those bodies and things like that. That whole week was kind of you can't imagine such a huge, tragic story. There were mass burials because bodies could not be identified. There were human outflow of help. People from all across Tamil Nadu sent truckloads of food, clothing. There were Sardarjis coming and making chapatis, like that. So we were able to cover the tragedy, how the administration is coping up with relief, how individuals and civil society is reaching out to help those communities. It was amazing. But it was tragic, but you had the sense of satisfaction that your work in some way helps to bring relief to communities who needed help at that point in time. Your work also helped the authorities to expedite relief work in those situations. And your coverage in terms of families searching for their near and dear ones, the information you provide in terms of the photographs of people who are found dead or alive, helps them to connect with families who are looking for them. So you're in some way relevant to families, for the community looking for some kind of closure in terms of what happened to the near and dear ones, to be able to connect with individuals and families. That was heartrending, that 1 week of this thing. And a year later, we got back to the same area, how the city is being rebuilt, how families are coping up. We were able to do that kind of tsunami. I think for a few years, we kept on revisiting Nagapattinam, the areas where we reported from. And with some families, we became very, we established a kind of an emotional connect with them. So it was a professionally challenging work, emotionally charging, but ultimately you feel you did a meaningful job there. Even now, people tell me, sir, we were able to, because till I reached Nagapattinam, I was only communicating, doing live reportage on the phone. We listened to your reportage of what is happening, how people were rushing to leave Nagapattinam on the buses, and based on what Mr. George updated me in terms of the loss of life, in terms of what is being done, I was able to update regularly on the phone. So that was the first, for many people who glued on to television at that time, that was the first on-the-ground reportage they received. And that was kind of a major, I would still say that was one of the major work I had done as a journalist.
When we see televisions, at that time, say, a tsunami, flood, murder, accident, we lose sleep. It disturbs. How you are able to cope up? Because you see directly. Now, do you also lose sleep?
Initially, I did. For example, in the year 2002, I think, or 3 perhaps, I was in Madura. As I told you, I was maybe 28, 29 as a young journalist. And there was this fire tragedy at an asylum, Ervadi fire tragedy in Ramanathapuram district. Some 30 plus inmates of an asylum. They were all chained to pillars.
Pathetic it was.
Yeah, all of them died because it was a thatched shed. They were all housed in. It was a fire, and all of them were burnt alive. And I reported from there. And for the first time, we have talked about post-mortem. But there I saw the post-mortem happening, not in the hospital, but exactly on that site. The visual of people dead, chained to the pillars, itself was so disturbing. But then, as I was recording my piece to camera, my concluding remarks, I heard some breaking noise. When I turned back, I saw the post-mortem teams breaking open the skull of a person with the sharp object and the hammer. That's how they do it. But for me, it was the first time I'm able to see that. Because for them, they need to do that to prove that it's whatever medically they have to prove. And that stayed in my mind for a long, long time. And then you gradually overcome that you try to detach yourself personally and emotionally, but you do your work as a journalist. And that particular job was very important for me because I was the only one at that time to report that the fire engine came late. Had the fire tender arrived on time, they could have saved many lives.
Oh.
I reported in my story on that day. And months later, when the inquiry commission concluded its investigation, they confirmed it, that there was some issue with the fire tender in that area, because of which another van from another neighboring area had to come. That took time, because of which a crucial half an hour was lost. By then, everything was over. So as a young journalist, to identify that cause and to be affirmed by an inquiry commission, that was a kind of a meaningful work for me in that sense, that you were able to pinpoint what could have gone wrong, and that was also established legally.
One news item which you made gave you some major change. Already you talked about Madura incident. Immediately that particular practice of burying child was banned. Anything where, means something you feel, yes, it is worth.
There are many I could say, but I could list maybe 2 or 3. This is a village in Ramanathapuram, just a few kilometers from the highway. This village did not have electricity supply for decades till we visited. I didn't believe when those people called me that there is a village. I think I read in a Tamil newspaper about that village. And then I think Dinatandi carried that story. I think I took a chance, and my office gave me a good freedom to explore that. When we visited that village, you won't believe what we saw was, we have seen street lights, electric street lights everywhere. But this village had lanterns, kerosene lanterns hanging on the tree branches.
Which year it was?
This must be from 2002 or 3.
Okay.
And I couldn't believe it. They say in the night time we light it up so that when people walk into the street village, they'll have some light. And we did a story. We profiled that village, how people still struggle. And that visual was shocking. In the year 2000 or 2001, you have a village using lanterns to provide light to the area. 3 months later, I get a call from some villager in that place. Romma Nandri ayya, thank you very much. We have electricity connection now. That was meaningful for me. That your work brought a difference to your community.
So you're so much emotional. And
such stories, I think, make it meaningful. 2 other stories again, I would say. This was about after I moved to Chennai. I think this could be 2008 or something. 8 or something. Somebody called me and said, a young girl studying her 11th standard requires stem cell therapy because of some blood leukemia, blood cancer kind of a complaint. At that time, they required some 20, 30 lakh rupees. And it was, I think, a busy news season for us. We could not do a television story. But my editor said, Sam, why don't we do a digital story? Suparna, she used to be our editor for digital. She mailed me saying, we can take a good web story. So I immediately told that friend, can you make us speak like an appeal on a mobile phone, smartphone, and we will carry it, because we were busy, we could not go out ourselves. But the story requires help, and we will do it. This girl spoke beautiful English, daughter of a peon of a private company, and we carried that on NDTV.com. I also carried that story on my social media page. Within the next 2 weeks, the family received some 40 lakh rupees.
Very good.
The family was able to go for the surgery, stem cell therapy. She could not be saved. She died. But we did a bit to help the family feel that because of want of money, we left a child unattended or uncared. They had that satisfaction that they were able to afford that. Ultimately, she died. It's not the end of it. After that, looking at that story, another driver of a media organization, he called me, sir, same kind of situation for my daughter. We don't have money. Is there any way you can help? Sometimes when you do such stories one after the other, my worry was somebody shouldn't think, what is this story of raising funds for treatment? It could raise doubts or unnecessary criticism. By then, this girl had died. Something urged me, why don't you ask that family if they have any extra cash left? So I prepared myself and told that friend, this is what is, there's another need for a similar case, and is there any way you can check with the family if they have any cash left? Then he said, Sam, I said, do it. He called me the day after saying they had some old debt. They would like to settle that debt. Still, they were able to return some 7 lakh rupees.
Excellent.
Yeah. This family, for them, it was required. The same thing happened to them. This child also died. But even today, he is happy that he tried his best.
Right.
So I think stories like this make a huge difference. Make us feel happy that, in some way you're contributing to the society. There are many such things where at a personal level, as a journalist, you come across needy cases, and you, at a personal level, you try to share it among your friends or on your social media. And there are people who have been very, very generous. For example, there is a story of a Bedi roller's daughter. She was brilliant in +2, the year 2017. But she could not crack NEET. We did a story on her. And seeing that story, somebody from UK sponsored to help her go through NEET coaching. Today she is finishing her final year. Because of that opportunity, she was able to crack NEET, study in Thoothukudi Medical College, and she's finishing. Likewise, many such things I can say. She asked for help for her younger daughter, and one school came forward to give her free admission in Chennai. And today she has joined CMC by merit.
Very good, very good.
That kind of thing, as journalists, I think it's equally your responsibility to expose the shortcomings, the wrongs that happen in society. But it's also equally important that you use the strength of your work, your media, to also do some meaningful, good work to make a positive difference to individuals and communities.
The Sam Daniel generally we people see is television, you interviewing and all. But I also seen I'm a follower of your social media posts. You are someone who rescues stray cats, stray dogs, helping street vendors. Can you tell the other side, the social side?
That's my personal thing because my family loves pets. As children, my parents helped us to. We used to have dogs, cats, rabbits, fish aquarium. We are very passionate about aquarium, and that continues. And in city, because of your life in apartments, you don't get a chance to have your own dogs and cats. But I'm moved by efforts of many individuals and groups to adopt dogs, to help dogs and cats find homes, so that they can have a good life. So I don't rescue myself, but I help in my personal capacity to help those people who foster cats and dogs to find homes. So I share those posts on my social media page. In my office, we have adopted a few cats.
And one got lost.
Lost recently, one got lost. Yeah, so that.
Did you find that cat?
Oh, no, he didn't come back. We're still on the lookout, but yeah, we have only one now. And yeah, so that way, that's my personal love for pets and abandoned animals. Street vendors, something, as I told you, everyone has a strong story. Anybody, if you meet someone, you get to listen to their amazing story of achievements, accomplishments, or how happy they are despite such humble lives. So I try to take pictures, tell the world about that. Maybe one of 10 of such stories may require some help. I try to raise help for them. But otherwise, I think telling their stories will inspire people, to motivate people to, to work hard than complaining. For example, we were covering something in Trichy, rural Trichy, a few years ago. An old man who was struggling to push his cycle to sell something. He tells me his son is in central government, his daughter is in IT, like that. Amazing story. And how it's possible. And he said, Padi Pudaya. That thing I think is very, very powerful. And that's my personal side. Yeah, you being a journalist, you are good in storytelling. So wherever you go, you try to take pictures and share their stories so that it will inspire youngsters coming from challenge situations to aim high and not to let these temporary difficult situations to demotivate them.
I can see often you becoming emotional when it comes to your work. I can understand how much you love your work, and in fact, I think you are means it's not just a news. You are living with each and everything. So happy to know such a journalist. In fact, and you are someone in journalism. I always feel ethical journalism across every political party bureaucrat. Sam Daniel, no doubt on that. Now, if someone comes in this era, they pose some tough questions, this, that, suddenly become too popular. How is your feel?
I love it actually. Because youngsters nowadays are more talented, they're more tech savvy, they look at things in a different way than you do. So, as an experienced journalist, I always encourage, motivate youngsters. And it's important that we guide them, we show them the right path, we help them to bring out their full potential and talent to limelight. And I don't see them as a threat at all. Of course, definitely a fresher from college will be able to be more productive than what I do. will be able to run around and do much work than what I do. I have my own strengths and limitations I have to accept. And the present day youngsters have their own skill sets, assets, which could be much better than a seasoned journalist now. We should accept that. But I always look at what can I learn from them. I never see them as a threat. I never see them as a as a as a as a competitor or rival. They're a rival in a sense. For example, a young journalist in a rival organization may break a story first. They make a splash. Yes. So sometimes they make us work more harder. They they keep us on our toes. And yes, but you also feel confident that you have your own skill sets, you have your own experience, you have your own advantages, which a young journalist may not have. So you don't have to feel threatened, but you can still work on your strengths and still make a niche space for yourself. Sometimes, as a young journalist, the kind of questions I asked, the kind of stories I had done, now I laugh at them. It's possible because the times have changed, your perspectives change, the world, the way the world looks at those stories change. But that's how you grow as a journalist. Sometimes you do the silly stuff and you may laugh at them now, but that was part of your learning experience. And yeah, so even if a young journalist comes and it's a phase, you laugh at them sometimes because you may not ask those questions now. Sometimes I'm not talking about everybody, but it's a phase, and you go through that. And but definitely, youngsters are more talented. They have more exposure. They have the power of technology now. They're very tech savvy now, and they come as a versatile products, compared to the way we were at that point in time. For example, what a team would do now, they can do as a single person. They themselves can film, they themselves can shoot, they themselves can record. Everything can be done by a single person with the help of technology. So amazing. So they really, what many call as make others run for their lives. They do it, yes.
Wonderful answer. In fact, I was expecting the other way from such a senior journalist who has spent years, but the way you told the answer, yes, what you are saying is really the maturity you have. I really appreciate it. Coming back to the officers, bureaucrats, there are a lot of youngsters, bureaucrats. Now, media is something they cannot avoid. They have to live day in and day out. But everywhere, say Bihar, Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, many will be watching this. Now, those bureaucrats, how to manage media, whether they have to stay away from them or how to, but again, they cannot stay away also. And it is not that all bureaucrats, all media is not Sam Daniels. There may be some person who will have some vested interest. So, blackmails may come, some recommendations if the bureaucrat is not listening. It's not across India, different things people face. How to tackle? What's your advice to bureaucrats?
The honest thing would be to be transparent to the level possible and not to be too much media centric. The present generation media as well as the present generation society, they expect the officers to be answerable to people, for which a healthy interaction with the media, a healthy connect with the media helps. But that's like a double-edged sword. Your media exposure would work well, can also do harm. Harm in the sense you should be open for criticism. But sometimes the threat is that, the risk is that, sometimes this could lead to a situation that officers often do only media headline management. They may not really do your honest transformational work on the ground. That's very important that you don't fall into that trap. So it's important you let the media know what you're doing, what kind of changes you're bringing about, but that should not become a priority. Then you will be often left time to only handle the headlines. You won't. So even if you don't interact with media, that's fine. But if you do solid groundwork, then your work would speak for you. You should let the work speak for you. But there are positions like when you're a city commissioner or a collector, people hold you accountable. Then you should strike a balance. Maybe a weekly press briefing that helps. Or when you complete a work, when it starts functioning in a very well-oiled manner, then it's worth showcasing it. But now what happens is that on day one, they go on a media frenzy. They look ahead. This will become like this will become like this. Everything is speculative. But after 2 years, when people come and see, there will be nothing. But on day one, you hog the headlines, and that makes no meaningful difference at all. Instead, if you silently work for 2 years, let things happen. Again, you yourself go and do the fact checking, try for feedback, fix those gaps wherever they are. And then after 3 years also, if it's okay, you do that, you showcase it. Then you have made a meaningful difference. It could actually be a role model for the entire country. But what often happens, media is also guilty of that. We want to showcase that story on the day one because we don't want other channels to do it. So there is a tussle among the media also to hype it. But an officer should not fall trap into that. I'll tell you one good example. I read in a newspaper a few years ago that Chennai Corporation is planning to set up smart toilets, this thing. Amazing concept, this thing. When he called the officer, he's laughing. Sam, this is a story planted by the guy who's supplying those smart toilets, one particular company. We have plans, but smart toilets are only a small percentage of the total number of toilets we are building. But that story gave a very glossy picture that Chennai is going to transform the way smart toilets are. But 2 years later, somebody is coming and saying, does Chennai have any smart toilets now? No. Even the existing toilets will be so filthy, so dirty. So it's very important that we don't fall prey to that instant media mileage, because for us it's only a story. But if an officer wants to make a meaningful difference, then he or she should resist from that. You should have a media interaction in public interest for things that are required to be told to public. But on projects, don't fall into the trap of, because once papers cover, TVs cover, you will lose interest to pursue it.
Correct.
But when you follow it for 6 months, 1 year, fill in all those challenges, get those pain points, again you fix it, then when you showcase it, that project will stay there for a longer time. It will be a kind of a role model, your project to be replicated in other places. Then you make a meaningful difference. So I think it's important to strike a balance and stop at a level where it's fine. Every media would want to take advantage of you. But I think you as an individual, you can draw a line. Where do you want to? For example, there are different bureaucrats follow a different style. There are bureaucrats who never speak to media. There are bureaucrats who will speak to select media. There are bureaucrats who will only speak off the record. Sam, this is the information, correct information, but don't quote me. So everybody can follow a style. And there are bureaucrats who are known for media savvy. Anytime you call, they'll be willing to come and speak to you. I mean, both have their own advantages, but you decide what suits you well. But any media thing, make sure what is the public interest in that. That could be a guideline for you to decide whether I should go for a media thing or not. Is there a public interest? With this story, will it project me, or will it answer the doubts and anxieties people may have? That could be a kind of a larger yardstick to decide whether how much of media is important.
And the other side, in case some media person is blackmailing, in the sense, not blackmailing, there will always be issues in some government, some lacunae. If some officer he recommends and it is not listening, then they start creating how to tackle.
I think now every department, every individual officer has their own official social media handles. They can use that effectively to tell their stories, to deny, to give, to rebut it. When there is factual inaccuracies, you have every right to approach that media house to set it right, to make them apologize, or to make them at least amend the news article online, or the next day print edition can carry it. There's no reason why you should let them carry an unverified or an incorrect information. So I think every such, if you start firefighting that way, much of your time could go only fighting that. That's why many officers just ignore it. But if it's a major news where it is causing harm or causing damage to the kind of work you have done because of a wrong reportage, you have every right to report that and make sure they correct it, they amend it. It's your right to do it. And any blackmail, I think you have legal provisions available. You can report, you can take legal action on that. There's no reason why you should fall a victim for that.
Someone to be in politics, they should be continuously in news. Some criteria. Very positive person also, continuously in news. Good-hearted, that's what as a citizen we expect. Good-hearted also. Every day in news, then very good chance of forming the government also. I feel Sam Daniel fits in all these criteria. Every day in news, quite a positive person, good-hearted. And yes, we always keep seeing you. Is there any chance that you go to the other side of entering politics in future?
So I don't think journalists can become good material for becoming elected members. That requires a different ball game altogether. I don't think we'll ever win elections. We may be well known, but I don't think journalists, this becomes a quality to become journalists, to become politicians or elected leaders. But I know to bring about changes in society, you need to be in positions of authority through elected means. But I'm not sure we are made for that, in that sense, to be able to go through the rigor and tumble of electoral politics and win. But I would say, if there is an opportunity to serve as MPs in the Rajya Sabha, that could be a different role through which we can, at some point, we can serve the country. But that's a different call, because no longer we have a system of giving such opportunity for people of eminence in the society. Because even the upper house positions have become largely political.
True.
I don't think we have that tradition of engaging people of be it scientists, be it artists, to give their voice in the parliament. But if at all, what I'm saying is, since you're asking a specific question whether I will be interested, that could be a thing we can look at to serve. Otherwise, no journalists, unless they are appointed by a political party, I don't think otherwise we journalists stand a chance, even remotely, to be elected. Coming on TV is one thing, but winning elections and serving people is a different thing. But as journalists, we're trying our best to serve the country, to serve the community in whatever way we can, both by journalistic work in terms of exposing the wrongs, exposing the apathy, and in showcasing the good things happening in our society. That way we are contributing, but not all journalists can be good politicians.
Can you tell us about your family, sir?
My wife is Pepiti. She decided to not work any longer since I'm a journalist because my timing is erratic. She's the pillar of our strength, and two children, two daughters actually. Elder one has just finished her studies. Her name is Beryl. She has taken up a job now. Younger one is Cheryl. She's doing her architecture. Somehow they didn't have interest towards media, but both write well. And yeah, but otherwise, it's a family business in that sense, you know. Unless a journalist gets the support and the backing of the entire family, it will not be an easy thing, because they should understand your work, your passion, and help you, cooperate with you, everything. In my initial years, for example, my wife used to watch all the regional channels because we'll be traveling, we'll be on the fields. We didn't have WhatsApp those days, and any major development, she'll immediately call me. This is happening in this district, you know. So we'll know if it's important. We can follow that, and we can flash it. And likewise, they all are cooperative. Sometimes we'll be in on a weekly off day. You'll be out somewhere. Something will crop up, and you leave them on the road, and you leave. You know, so they're all prepared for that. They understand. They're very supportive on that. And it's a whole family. For example, my parents also, for that matter. My father, who's actually an avid news follower, again, often in the past has shared with me information. He'll give a critical review of, you know, as a viewer, how he sees me on TV and how I things like that. So I think for a journalist, it's important you get the support, backing, and cooperation of the entire family to be able to peacefully focus on your work. It's a sacrifice the entire family makes, and I'm lucky, blessed that you have such a family. Because it's also true that in the case of many journalists, because of the erratic timings, because of the work schedule, because of the heavy demands, they compromise on the quality family time. And there are many unfortunate developments of families breaking apart because you couldn't spend the time required with your spouse, with your children, you know. That's also a very unfortunate trend that you see among journalists across the country. And in that sense, I think I'm very lucky and blessed that you have
Happy to know, sir. Happy to know. Sir, can you tell me some incident? Because 23 years of service, ups and downs you would have seen. Any news item, some coverage you made, after that you were so scared for backlash.
This happened, I think, a few years ago when Ms. Jayalalitha was the chief minister. There was a building collapse at Maulivakkam outside Chennai. 11-story under construction building collapsed. This collapsed on a rainy day in the early evening. So we went there immediately. At that time, some 40 to 50 people were believed to be trapped underneath. The rescue work was going on. And the next, around noon time, the work still continued because not all were accounted for. Still there were families waiting for information about their near and dear missing ones. The NDRF had come for rescue work, and suddenly the work was suspended. It was not called off, they suspended. And
People were trapped inside.
Trapped inside. And suddenly the focus shifted to clearing the area to make it look slightly better. And they were spraying the chlorine powder kind of thing, you know. And then I understood the chief minister was expected there, and that's why they had stopped. And this was shocking for me. There are still people believed to be trapped. They could be still saved, rescued, and how can you stop the work? And we immediately flashed it. I verified it. Authorities confirmed it and flashed it. We went live on television that the work has been suspended because the chief minister was coming. And I asked myself, either the chief minister should come making sure the work will not be hampered, or he should just avoid coming there. Because sometimes VIPs coming there only slows down or stops the rescue work because they have their own security protocols. Then she came and she addressed the media. As a journalist, it's important this question is raised because it's a question of life for many. And so I prepared myself very carefully because Ms. Jayalalitha is also known to rebut in a very strong way. She can slam you. But as a journalist, I thought it's my responsibility to at least bring it to her attention. It's not that she's responsible for that, but somebody has taken a call to suspend the rescue work, and which could lead to the death of somebody or delay in rescue work. So I prepared myself, mentally rehearsed my question to make sure it doesn't upset her, but it should be asked. So I asked her, ma'am, do you think authorities should not have stopped the rescue work because of your coming here? And she understood what I'm coming to, and she stepped forward and she blasted. This is a politically motivated question. You stay here and see what kind of rescue work is going. That video is still available online. But I had to ask that question. But she gave a political spin, but that's not my intention. But after that, the person, a key person from the NDRF, he came to me, Sam, I'm glad you asked this question. We couldn't do it. But this shouldn't have happened. But I'm glad you raised this issue, and that I was worried because sometimes party people because sometimes we have a culture of party people going loose, to get into the good books of their leader, and they can target me. So on that day, I was a little cautious, and had taken some extra efforts to make sure my movement is not revealed, that kind of a thing. But nothing happened. But there I thought that question is important to be asked. And no matter what's the response, I'm not worried about the response, but to take it to the notice of those in power, that's important.
So after that, they started the rescue.
They resumed after she left. But my point was, those who had taken that call shouldn't have done that. And since it was for her visit, she should know that. I didn't blame her, but I only attempted to bring it to her notice. But she thought it's because of her that it was stopped, kind of thing. That's fine. But I'm glad I was able to ask that question. But at that time, I had that feeling that perhaps I could be targeted because of that. But nothing happened.
One more question. Each one is an individual. Israel Jebasingh will have his own views. I will have my own ideology. Some favoritism may be there inside. Something. All are humans. Like that, yes, Sam Daniel is also a human. You may have your own ideology, belief, something. How you ensure that it doesn't affect your journalism?
It's a great question. It's often the personal experiences, personal beliefs that lead to many questions and many stories, for instance. Okay. But if you follow your journalistic ethics, your personal likes and dislikes stop at one point. You subject your story to the scrutiny of your ethics. Whether is it true? Is it accurate? Is it balanced? Have you given the other side an opportunity to defend, to deny, to rebut? If you follow that, then your personal like and dislike will only be a trigger for the story. But that will not allow you to influence the story. We can do it unless you personally attempt to color a story, to hype a story, or to downplay a story. That's a different thing. But your personal belief system, it's still possible to completely detach from that and do a professional story. And sometimes your knowledge of a subject, because of your personal like, could only help you to report the story in a better way. I'll give you an example. I studied in a college, MCC. There was an issue at some point in time that the church is trying to take over that college, the Church of South India. Now, two options. One, it's about my college. I can play to the way the college wants the story to be played.
The college wanted that. No,
To
it
be
should not be
independent.
taken.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. I mean, if I'm a biased journalist. Or as a neutral journalist, you just report factually what has happened. Thirdly, you take the side of the church. Okay, Christian college, the church should have the control kind of thing. Or you do like a professional journalist. You don't have any. Since I am an alumni or alumnus of the college, I use the opportunity to tell the story better. I can report the story more in detail than a journalist who is not from the college. So what I'm trying to say is that use the extra
So how you
information.
reported that?
We reported as it is. I mean, we never took any sides. We interviewed the alumni. We interviewed the college board, the college, how do you call it? The director, I don't know, the
Chairman
chairman of the board. We interviewed him. We interviewed the bishop of the Church of South
CSI.
India. We had some alumni, and we did the story. Then the bishop complained to our office that Sam is an alumni of the college.
MCC.
He has taken a. Then I told my team, you see whether I have compromised on anything. Have I taken a stand? Have I taken a no? But what I'm saying is, the knowledge I have as an alumnus helps me to tell the story better. Helps me to get the top person of the board speak to me. Helps. Otherwise, the story doesn't take any sides. And we replied to the bishops that the story is factually correct. In fact, there was a court order at that point in time. I think it's they gave a ruling in favor of the college that the college is run according to the corporate.
The constitution of the
Yeah.
college. Yeah.
Like a business house, like a corporate body, and so everything was factual. There is no sides taken by the thing. So it's completely possible, based on your interest, based on your personal experience, a story can be use that knowledge to tell the story better, but not to color the story. And it's possible. It's completely possible. But still, if you decide to do an unprofessional, biased story, that's a different thing. But in everything, be it in your political reportage, be it in social issues, it's perfectly possible to keep your personal likes and dislikes away and do an objective story. But it's often your personal likes or dislikes that trigger you to do a story. For example, you go for a college admission, you face an issue of corruption. Then you think of what is wrong in the system. That experience helps you to probe and helps you to do a story.
Where others are also going to be benefited.
You travel by train, there is a scam you experience. Then you work on, as a journalist, it helps you to probe further. It gives you the access to ask to authorities, affected people, and do a good story. So I wouldn't say all the stories are from the air. No, many of your stories come from your personal experiences, personal likes and dislikes, and this thing. But you make it a professionally dealt story. There are many such examples I can give you, where from your personal experiences, that story idea germinates, then you work and see that's a great story in that, and you tell the story in a. And now, for example, when that story was done in MCC, we didn't have a disclosure, because at that time we didn't have that level of thing. But now, if I had done the story, I would have told in the story itself, I am an alumni of the college, but the story was done in a professional way. One example I can share with you was my daughter studied for a few years at Good Shepherd Convent. And a few years ago, we had done a story on how the Good Shepherd management was concerned about a portion of their land will go for the metro. The school thought there is a better alignment which would save the property of the school being taken over. So we had done a story. We spoke to the parents, because the management would not want to speak, but a set of parents had taken up the cause. We spoke to the parents. We spoke to the metro authorities whether something can be done, and we gave both sides of the story. And in that story, I had disclosed Sam Daniel's children studied in that school at some point in time, but the story is a professional journalistic work. Now, any such story, I add that disclosure. That
Whether all have to do that?
no, now as an extra level of transparency. See, like judges recused from doing a story, we can do that. But I'm a one-man army, I can't do that. I can ask somebody else to do it, but somebody has to come from some other bureau and do it. But I thought it's always good to have a disclosure so that I wouldn't be accused of having a vested interest of any kind in that school. And nobody can criticize me saying that your children's study, that's why you're taking up stuff. I've done a few stories like that, mentioning that my connection or my possible connection with that, and so nobody can accuse you of bias, or you make it clear. This is I have a direct or indirect connection there, but still it's a journalistic. So I mean, people will also respect you for that, for not masquerading as a journalist, but disclosing it whatever way you're connected to that.
Sir, in your journalistic career, any one news item which unearthed one scam, something like that?
I don't recall of a scam, but I can share with you this Jallikattu coverage. For many years, I've been passionately covering Jallikattu. Initially, I was like anybody else, that Jallikattu is a traditional sport, we have to encourage it. And then when I slowly started understanding the pain, the trauma the bulls go through, then my perspective changed, that this is something cruel, you know. And we were able to expose what kind of torture these bulls go through at Alanganallur in Madurai. I had a brilliant camera person called Saji. He's still in Coimbatore now. He was with NDTV for a very, very long time. He was able to brilliantly capture how lime juice is squeezed into the eyes of the bulls before they are let off the gates, the Vadi Vasal, they call it in Tamil. And then we were able to brilliantly capture the other forms of torture, because once you squeeze lime into the eyes of these bulls, they run amok. They are in pain, they are in fear, and the aim of the bull tamers is nobody should be able to tame the bull. But for the bull, it's a nightmare. And then from behind the gates of the Vadi Vasal, from the gates, they poke the tail part of the rectum of the bull so that it will become more ferocious. And then they pull the bull by its tail. Many people pounce on the bull and they, but these were all happening in public glare. But we were able to expose how the eyes are squeezed with lime juice. And that became a crucial evidence for animal rights activists and for the government at some point to expose the cruelty of these bulls. And at one point it was banned, citing animal cruelty, and yeah, that was something which...
now whether it has changed, those lime juice and all?
The cruelty part has changed.
Good.
Because everything has come under camera. But again, there are many such bull taming events happening in areas where there is no media glare. For example, when it comes to Jallikattu, people only talk about Alanganallur. Another one is Palamedu. Another one is Avaniyapuram. But remaining ones, they go unchecked. Even authorities don't bother to really implement the guidelines strictly. So there could be violations there. But at least in these major events, to a large extent, the physical trauma of these bulls have come down. But the mental trauma still continues, because these bulls are brought from several districts. They had to wait there for the whole night. They are, and when they face this hundreds of people, suddenly when they are, when bull tamers pounce on them, then that trauma still continues.
Thank you so much, sir, for sparing your time and so candidly giving answers. In fact, you never asked me what I should. You just came and kept answering every question. So, and it's also good to know that behind a journalist, so many things are. Just we see you on TV, there is that news for us. But today we could understand so much of journalism. And thank you so much for joining us today, sir.
Thank you so much. I loved talking to you. Thank you for those brilliant questions. It made me emotional. I'm sorry, but it's nice. I love the experience of being on the other side to be questioned. Thank you very much,
so
and all the
much,
best
sir.
for your effort through this podcast. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, sir. And friends, I hope it was very useful and you could understand the other side of Mr. Sam Daniel. And you could understand what is ethical journalism. Each and everything when he was talking, some item where someone was suffering, that leukemia patient, or that Kumbakonam incident, how tears were coming out of him. It is a learning for me that yes, this is what is Sam Daniel and this is what is ethical journalism. They work for what? That each and everything, internally, that drive is what is driving them. And we could also understand someone, if you're a bureaucrat or you want to pursue journalism, yes, from different walks of life, we could understand, yes, how to approach journalism and all. So I hope it was useful for you. Keep seeing our podcast. More and more guests will join. Thank you so much.